Now, this is going to sound funny, and looking back on the situation, it kind of is funny. However, in that moment, there was nothing funny about this shit at all. I'm from Baton Rouge, Louisiana, and I grew up in the Avenues. For those of you who know nothing about the Avenues, if you find Southern University A&M College, the Avenues is the neighborhood right next to it. It's Avenue A through Z. It's the country, but it's hood. Shootouts every night, cutlasses on 24s. Granted, Baton Rouge itself is the capital of the state of Louisiana, but it's still fucking country. So the virus hits the streets and people start acting funny. Then, 6, 8 months later, family members start losing jobs and quitting jobs because they're told what they gotta do with their body. I'm sitting around the table with my uncles playing spades, and they start spazzing out saying, yeah, we country niggas, but we not idiots. This whole situation is way too fishy. Every time I turn on the television, it's a black person getting a shot in the arm. I don't understand it, I don't like it, and I'm not doing it. With that being said, one by one, family members were losing their jobs left and right. While we're sitting around that table, they start talking about going back to the old ways of living. Sure enough, 2, 3 months later, I noticed everybody in my family started to plant gardens in their backyards. And some of my uncles got chicken coops. That's when my Uncle Freddie first brings up the concept of me and him going hunting for hogs. He tells me, boy, listen, I'm going to take you out here to go hunt some of these hogs. If we can get 3 of these wild hogs, that's enough meat to feed our family for the next year. Now, if I'm giving you the impression that my uncle was suggesting that I go hunting with him, then I'm giving you the wrong impression. Because by the end of this conversation, he told me that I was going to go hunting with him. Look, I don't have a problem telling you this. Yes, I'm born and raised in Baton Rouge, which is technically the country, but I had never been hunting my entire life. Do I have a rifle? Hell yeah, AR-15 100-round drum. But I don't carry that AR to deal with no hogs and no deers. I carry it to deal with the ignorant fools that live in my neighborhood. But it's Uncle Freddie. He's demanding that I go hunting with him, and the man has been like a father to me. So guess what? I'm cool with going hunting, right? Wrong. Because had I known the whole circumstances surrounding where we were going hunting and what had happened there in the past, there is no way on this planet that he could have ever gotten me to get into a vehicle with him to ride to that location early in the morning and prance around in the woods had I known what the hell was out there. Now get this, 3 days after this conversation, we take a 2-hour ride to this piece of property that he owns. He and I carry this huge, gigantic feeder 600 yards out into the woods. We set it all up, put the feed inside of the feeder. Uncle Freddie says, we're going to let this sit here for a few days, attract some hogs. Then he hangs a trail camera up and begins to spread corn all over the place, and then we leave. A couple of days after that, he calls me and tells me he's seeing hogs all over the place on his trail camera. He explains that we're going to get up early in the morning, head over there, set up in a tree, and we're going to take 2 or 3 of them hogs out of the woods. So the next morning, he picks me up at 3 a.m. and we're in the woods when the sun comes up. And that's when shit goes south. Imagine the scene. We're there in a tree stand waiting on the hogs. And you can hear this tree snapping. That bitch goes crack. It sounded like motherfucking lightning struck a tree, but it wasn't a cloud in the sky. Understand, the sound came from directly in front of us, which was on the opposite side of the feeder. I'm sitting there watching Uncle Freddie, and he's squirming and shifting his weight. So I whisper to him, Uncle Fred. He looks at me out of the corner of his eye and says, quiet, boy. Hold on. Just be quiet. But I'm scared. I ain't never heard no shit like that before in the woods. Clearly, an entire tree had just been snapped in half. And I needed an explanation. So I'm like, Uncle Freddie, hogs don't snap trees. What the fuck was that? Again, he says, quiet, boy. I'm trying to listen. Now remember, it's early in the morning, 5:45. 5:50 a.m., the sun is barely up. It's quiet as a Catholic church on Sunday. We sit there for another 10 minutes and nothing happens. Then exactly about 15, 20 minutes after that, them hogs come out and start feeding. So let me pause right here and paint a picture for you of exactly where we were and how it looked. The feeder is downhill from us. So we're up in a tree looking down on the feeder. That feeder is located in a clearing on this property. It's shaped like a rectangle, but it's not going across us left to right. That rectangle clearing is going from front to back. And on the back end of that rectangle, it starts to close in, kind of making a triangle. Now, all along the edges of that triangle is nothing but woodline. However, from our vantage point, you have an absolute clear line of sight to the feeder, to the hogs, and all the way to the back end of that triangle. Now, like I was saying, the hogs have come out, they're feeding, we're discussing which one we're going to shoot and kill when his phone starts to vibrate. You can hear it in his top pocket. So Uncle Freddy takes out his phone, unlocks it, and looks. Then all of a sudden, he says, "We're leaving." I'm looking at him like he's crazy because we've been out here since 3 a.m. And all of a sudden, you want to leave? But I notice he's got this panicked look on his face. I tell him, "No, Uncle Freddy, at least we gonna take one of these hogs. I've been out here getting eaten by bugs all morning. We gonna get us a hog." So I aim and shoot. Bang! Hit that hog right in the neck. It drops, legs go up in the air, and it starts shaking. And right then and there is when that look of panic that Uncle Freddy had on his face converts to a look of sheer terror. We gotta go. We gotta go. We gotta go right now. Understand, this man is damn near falling out of the tree, trying to get down. And that's when it happens. You remember the WWF wrestler Hacksaw Jim Duggan? The big ass white dude that kinda had a pot belly, and he would walk out towards the ring holding a 2x4, huffing, going, "Hoo, hoo, hoo, hoo." You remember him? And before you said, yes, I was too young to know exactly who the fuck he was, but I'll explain to you and before you even said, absolutely. At this point in time in my life, I was way too young to know anything about Hacksaw Jim Duggan. But I'm going to explain all of that shit to you later. But listen to this. Remember how he came out with that 2x4, huffing and puffing and shit. Well, that's what this thing did. It comes out of the wood line on the back end where that triangle is, carrying a motherfucking tree, holding that bitch up in the air like Hacksaw Jim Duggan, huffing and hoofing and groaning all in one. The only difference between this thing and Hacksaw Jim Duggan was it was 9.5 feet tall with shoulders that looked like they were 8.5 feet across. Listen to me. Now my Uncle Freddy is no longer climbing down out of the tree. He is hugging the tree and sliding down, hitting the ground and starting to walk off. And by the time my black ass gets on the ground, he's 35 yards away from me, looking back saying, "Bring your ass on, boy. We got to go." And the whole time I'm trying to catch up with my Uncle Freddy, Hacksaw Jim Duggan is standing there, 1 foot on the fucking hog's head, like this is my hog, huffing and growling. Then it decides to roar. And when I tell you, I have never ever heard a sound like that in my life. It sounded like a freight train was blowing its horn, combined with this breathy, gargly noise. Fucking terrifying.
Okay, now you know Dark Waters is not about to give it all away for free. Want the rest of this story? Go to IamDarkWaters.com and become a member today. Only $4.99 per month gives you access to his library of true horror stories. Become a member today. Only $4.99 per month gives you access to his library of true horror stories. Become a member today. Want the rest of this story? Go to IamDarkWaters.com and become a member today. Only $4.99 per month gives you access to this library of true horror stories. Become a member today